Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating explainer on childhood nutrition and health. We're going to unpack exactly how the food we eat shapes us, literally from day one, and how understanding these different life stages can actually unlock a child's full genetic potential. Let's kick things off with a pretty staggering fact. Did you know that an infant actually requires twice as many calories per kilogram of body weight as a fully grown adult doing heavy physical labor? Just think about that for a second. It perfectly captures the immense, almost invisible power of early nutrition. These little guys aren't just eating to maintain their bodies, right? They're eating to build an entirely new one at absolute breakneck speed. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with nutrition as the foundation of growth, then look at infancy in the first year, move into protection and immunization, tackle building food habits in preschoolers, and finally, wrap up with school-age kids and fueling their independence.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Nutrition, the Foundation of Growth.
Our source material brilliantly defines nutrition as food at work. It's not just about, filling a kid's stomach so they stop being hungry or just making them taller. It's this incredibly active, ongoing process of getting and metabolizing nutrients that are absolutely crucial for organ function, high-level cognitive performance, and even fighting off diseases. Giving a child the right nutrients ensures they actually reach their full genetic potential and wards off lifelong physical and mental impairments. It is quite literally the foundation of a human being.
Moving right along to Section 2, Infancy, the very first year. During this first year, a baby's growth is just phenomenal. Seriously, by the end of their first 12 months, a healthy infant will have actually tripled their birth weight and increased their length by nearly 50%. And to fuel that massive growth spurt, nature has this perfectly designed fuel. Exclusive breastfeeding is recommended by the World Health Organization for those first 6 months. What's really fascinating here is the very first fluid produced in those early days. It's called colostrum. Think of it as nature's first tailor-made vaccine. It's just packed with antibodies to fight off infections. Plus, breast milk actually has low protein to protect the baby's delicate kidneys. And get this, it even provides protective benefits against certain cancers for the mother as well.
But right around that 6-month mark, breast milk alone just isn't quite enough anymore to keep up with that demanding growth velocity. That's when we enter the complementary feeding stage, and we need to follow a very gradual, logical progression here. First up, liquid complements, things like clear soups or citrus juices, starting around 4 to 5 months. Then, we step it up to semi-solid complements, so mashed vegetables or dals, around 5 to 6 months. And finally, as the baby actually begins to cut teeth around 10 to 12 months, we can safely introduce solid complements.
Now, what's absolutely crucial during this transition is how caregivers actually introduce these new foods. Our sources heavily emphasize hygiene during preparation to prevent infections. Caregivers should introduce only one new food at a time, start with super small quantities, and this is key, never force a child to eat if they show they dislike a particular food. If they don't want it, just take it away, keep the whole vibe positive, and try again later. Simple as that.
Okay, Section 3, Protection, focusing on immunization and health.
So, nutrition obviously doesn't exist in a vacuum. Because malnutrition and infections so often, tragically, go hand in hand, we have to fiercely protect this rapid physical growth. The National Immunization Schedule acts as this incredibly vital checklist for a child's long-term health. We're talking from the BCG vaccine for tuberculosis and Hep B at birth, progressing through those early weeks with the oral polio vaccine and pentavalent shots, which, by the way, protect against 5 major diseases like tetanus and whooping cough, all the way up to the measles and rubella shot at 9 months. What these vaccines do is introduce an inactive form of germs that basically train the infant's white blood cells to build defensive antibodies. And that provides lifelong immunity against some really severe communicable diseases.
But what happens if an infant falls behind on this foundation? Well, if they aren't exclusively breastfed or if their complementary foods fall short of their nutrient needs, severe deficiencies can set in really quickly. We're talking about devastating but completely preventable conditions here. Protein-energy malnutrition leads to severe growth retardation. Just a simple lack of iron causes anemia. A vitamin A deficiency, that can actually cause nutritional blindness. A shortage of vitamin D and calcium leads to bone-related issues like rickets. An iodine deficiency causes goitre. So yeah, the stakes in that first year are incredibly high.
All right, on to Section 4, Preschoolers and Building Food Habits.
Once we actually navigate that intense first year, we enter a whole new, highly spirited dynamic. We see this really fascinating shift in human biology.
In infancy, remember, we saw that phenomenal, rapid physical growth requiring massive calorie-dense feeding. But in the preschool years, so ages 1 to 6, physical growth actually slows down into a more latent period. However, this phase is dominated by intense, almost non-stop physical activity. I mean, they are constantly moving, playing, burning energy, and that completely changes how and what they need to eat.
This is famously that picky eater phase that absolutely drives parents crazy, right? But our sources offer some really great, highly actionable guidelines here. First, offer a variety of foods, but in child-sized portions. A massive adult-sized plate can just be visually overwhelming for a little kid. Keep the mealtime atmosphere totally relaxed. Set regular meal and snack time so their bodies actually learn when to get properly hungry. Serve easy-to-handle finger foods. Think small idlis, chapati rolls, or hard-boiled eggs. And the golden rule? Never, ever bribe or punish a child to eat. Doing that creates toxic associations with food that can literally last well into adulthood.
And here's a really crucial point specifically for this age group: the absolute power of snacks. Because of their super high activity levels and their very small stomach capacities, preschoolers simply cannot fit enough calories and nutrients into 3 standard meals. It's just not possible. 2 healthy snacks a day are absolutely essential to bridge that nutritional gap. Now, we aren't talking about empty calories from a convenience store here. Think about traditional, highly nutritious options like spiced baked potatoes, traditional sundal, or local flours mixed with jaggery, just to keep those energy reserves topped right up.
And that brings us to Section 5. School-age kids and feeling independence. Entering the school-age years from 7 to 12 is this pivotal period where children are preparing their bodies for massive adolescent changes. Right around age 10, nutritional needs actually begin to clearly diverge. Notice how girls begin to require slightly more protein and significantly more iron. We're talking 27 milligrams compared to 21 for boys to prepare their bodies for menarche. Meanwhile, boys start requiring these vast calorie reserves, jumping to nearly 2,200 kilocalories, to fuel their impending adolescent growth spurts. The daily diet just has to adapt to these new biological realities. Now, to ensure these school-age kids reach their full potential and to protect them from modern risks like obesity and early-onset diabetes, we really need to actively instill clean habits, limit their intake of saturated fats, salt, and added sugars. Most importantly, never allow a child to skip breakfast after a long night's fast. It severely impacts both their physical energy and their mental performance at school. And here's a fantastic tip from our source material. Get them involved. Take them grocery shopping. Teach them how to check raw ingredients. Involve them in age-appropriate cooking tasks. It makes healthy eating interesting for them and builds a positive, independent relationship with food.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. As we've seen today, nutrition is quite literally food at work. It's physically building a child's future step by step, from those highly caloric early months of infancy straight through to the active, independent school years. So I'll leave you with this question. Are the eating habits you're forming today setting up the children in your life for their full genetic potential? Thanks so much for joining me today. Keep exploring, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.